Hey there folks, it's your boy B3 back with another kicking graphic novel review. We have more goodness from IDW and Boom Studios today with Godzilla vs. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 2 by Colin Bunn and Baltimore Rivas. Yes, I loved the first one. I have yet to review it, I admit. I'm sorry. I just kind of review things as I feel like it. Does this one hold up to the first one? Let's find out. So, the King of the Monsters and the Defenders of the Earth are back for another round in this second crossover event. Worlds collide again as everyone's favorite kaiju meets up with Earth's mightiest warriors to take on the most fearsome monsters from both sides of the multiverse, with Rita Repulsa egging them on. This one has it all. Space Godzilla, Clawhammer, Tentacreep, Rita Repulsa, and Astronema have caught the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Godzilla in a sprawling space-time scheme that targets alternate versions of the Power Rangers. If our Rangers and Godzilla want to protect themselves and the multiverse, they're going to have to take on the most dangerous foe yet. Rita's secret weapon, the Psycho Rangers. Writer Colin Bunn and artist Baltimore Rivas team up for an all-new incredible comic adventure. Now, I'm a huge Godzilla fan. You guys know this. Huge Power Ranger fan. And I loved the first one. This one? Oh, this one sucks. It's really bad. It's terrible. I'm sorry to say. It's actually awful. I hate to say it. Sorry, Andrew Dahlhaus and Johanna Natalie, some of the other people that worked on this. It starts off with this kind of ruined Earth, and there's a white Mighty Morphin Ranger and Saba fighting some of Rita's monsters of the week. And, you know, they grow giant, Tiger Zord comes in, blah, blah, blah. Godzilla's there. Godzilla smacks some Zorbs around as well. And this White Ranger is kind of hopping from dimension to dimension, trying to find Power Rangers to help out. He's got this crystal that's like a multiversal focus. He finds the Mighty Morphin team, where Tommy is still Green Ranger. And this is the Mighty Morphin team from the first one that got stuck in Godzilla's home dimension. And you see that Rita and Astronema have teamed up. Two of the most iconic Power Rangers villains. Astronema is one of my favorites of all time. Kind of wish they gave her more cybernetic look from after she's brainwashed the second time, but that's just me being nitpicky, you know? Actually, there's a lot I wish they would change about the art, because it's weird and bad. The art's really bad. I hate to say it, the art's bad. It's not good. There's no consistency to it. The characters, like, you'll be on one page, then you'll flip the page, and the next page looks like it was drawn by a completely different person. Really, it does. I do like the kind of artistic take on Zordon, where he looks a bit more liquidy. I think that's really just an interesting artistic take on him, but yikes, you know. it's not great. There's a lot of terribly inconsistent art, and some of it I'll talk about as we go along, especially with Rita. Rita takes on several different art styles throughout this entire thing. We also see that the Psycho Rangers are here. The Psycho Rangers are some of my favorite Power Ranger villains of all time. And they get turned into the Psycho Kaiju Rangers. So, like, Psycho Yellow becomes a Psycho King Ghidorah. Right? That's actually pretty rad. It's pretty awesome, the concept of the Psycho Kaiju Rangers. And I want to talk a little bit more about them, because I don't think any of them are in Ranger form. Yeah, because you have the Psycho Kaiju Rangers, but here's the thing about the Psycho Rangers. When they grow gigantic, they change into their monster form. They lose their Ranger form. Their Ranger form is only for when they're human-sized. And they are the Psycho Kaiju Rangers, whether they're human-sized or giant in this book. Which leads me to believe that this is actually a mutation of their alien form, and not actually their Ranger form. And the main evidence for that is that they can grow gigantic without changing form, but also because their designs don't jive well together. They there's really no... Because, see, a ranger team, they're supposed to look like a team, you right? That's why all the rangers have kind of like the same thing below the neck, but different color, and then different helmets. Ranger teams, they look alike except for tiny little details. And the Psycho Rangers look even more alike than regular Rangers because they have the same helmets. And they don't look alike at all. All the Psycho Rangers look wildly different from each other. There's nothing making them look the same. You could really just say they're redesigns of the Toho Kaiju, to be completely honest. But, yeah, I don't think they actually have a Psycho Ranger form. The Psycho Rangers, or Psycho Kaiju Rangers, should really just be called Psycho Kaiju. Or Psycho Kaijin. Anyway, you see the Rangers in their Megazord, along with Godzilla and the White Tiger Zord, kind of hopping dimension to dimension. You see them land in the dimension that's very similar to Showa Godzilla. You know, it's got a very Godzilla versus Gigan vibe. And who's in that dimension? But my boy, my friend, my homie, Jet Jaguar, my favorite robot in all of fiction, and also probably the MVP of this book. Absolutely the MVP of this book. So, Goro Ibuki, the creator of Jet Jaguar, gets in contact with the Rangers, and he's like, hey, I have a lot of data on all this stuff going on. I can help you fight. I can help you with all this. So they kind of fight together and defeat Rita's monsters. The Dragon Zord, something goes wrong when it's trying to become armor for the regular Megazord. That armor goes on Godzilla. How does that work? No clue. It shouldn't. It does, though. It looks kind of neat, though. It would make a fun toy. I'd buy the figure, for sure. But they keep hopping dimension to dimension and eventually run into the Psycho Kaiju Rangers. Yeah. And there's many different ones. So the Red Ranger is Destroya. The design is fine. The Psycho Pink Ranger is now Psycho Hedorah, which I actually think looks really cool. Yellow is Psycho King Ghidorah, as I already mentioned. Blue is Psycho Space Godzilla. Black is Psycho Megalon. And then green is there as Psycho Gigan. And you know Gigan is my favorite my favorite movie villain of Godzilla's. My favorite Godzilla villain, period, is Gigan. Or at least monster-wise, you know? So I'm not dissing it, but when it showed the Psycho Rangers earlier, there was no green there. So where'd green come from? It doesn't really matter. I don't super care, but it's something I feel I have to point out. Anyway, they're fighting the Psychos. It's not going super well. Like, at all. They're kind of getting their butts kicked, to be completely honest. They transport to another dimension. This one, of course, holds the Mothra Fairies. Yeah. They summon Mothra to help, because of course they do. Jet Jaguar gives his iconic thumbs up. You got to love Jet Jaguar, folks. You just do. And the Rangers get beat so bad that they lose their powers. Now they need a new source of power. And that source is going to be the kaiju of the multiverse. Rodan, Anguirus, Baragon, King Caesar, Mothra, you know. And Rita and Astronema are sending their forces to attack the command center. Rita says that she didn't know where their command center was, which is odd because in the very first episode of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, she sends putties to attack the Rangers as they're leaving it on foot, which is, okay. But once again, this is an alternate dimension, so that might have just not happened in this world. And then we get the Kaiju Rangers, which were a big talking point when this first came out. A lot of people seem to really like them. They're ugly, man. They do not look like Power Rangers. They look like Toku heroes. If any of these was a single Toku hero, I'd be fine, especially the blue one. Billy is already my favorite, like Mighty Morphin Ranger. But the blue Anguirus Ranger actually looks pretty cool. The yellow Baragon Ranger, the head's kind of big. Not sure what's up with that. It's a very big head. Red Ranger is Rodan. You kind of get that. There have been many red Rodans as well as browns, but Fire Rodan's real red, so red Rodan Ranger. Black King Caesar Ranger, whose helmet looks more like a gator than King Caesar. And then pink, of course, is Mothra. But most of these on their own, except for Yellow's gigantic head, would be fine TOKU heroes. But they do not look like a Ranger team for the reasons I mentioned earlier. Power Rangers are a team. Teamwork is one of the main themes. So is diversity, but that's not relevant right now. They have a diversity of kaiju and stuff. They're fine. The designs are not conducive with each other. They all have like the same belt on, except for when they don't. So they all kind of have the same belt, and then that's it. They don't have the same armor. They don't have the same legs. The helmets should have at least some kind of consistency with them. The only thing that's the same for all the helmets is that the visors are all mouths, except Mothra's, which wouldn't work as a mouth. I guess it still is, though. I don't know. They all have completely different armor and completely different textures. They don't look like Rangers. It's a lot more like when a bunch of Kamen Riders or a bunch of metal heroes team up. And you can see the similarities, but you know that they don't always work together. You know their powers don't come from the same place just by looking at them. That's what it looks like. It looks like 5 individual TOKU characters all came together and teamed up. But they don't look like Power Rangers. And then some artistic depictions of them are like hyper detailed, which makes them look really ugly. The Zords are fine. I don't have any issue with the Zords. I think the Mothra one's actually really cute. The Zords do not bother me. I really have no issue with the Zords. But the Rangers look bad. They don't look like Power Rangers. They don't. And I feel like American tokusatsu, we like to have lots of lines and little details and stuff in the suits. But sometimes less is more. You know? Sometimes less is more from a design perspective, and with Power Rangers that is absolutely true. You'll notice in Boom Studios, whenever they make an original Ranger or redesign a Ranger, they're just a lot busier design-wise than any of the designs that come from Japan. Just so much busier. Not all of them. I mean, I think Lord Drakon was the perfect amount of busy, and the Ranger Slayer I thought worked as well. But like the Solar Rangers have so much going on them. And the Omega Rangers have a lot going on too. And when stuff is changed, they get tons of more little details. Like when they get their second Mighty Morphin Green Ranger and he has all these little details on his outfit that the original just didn't. We just like to fill every part of the suit with little details. We just don't want anything to be smooth for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why we do that, but we do. Also, Anguirus being blue, fine. I mean, not everything's going to match. Mothra's not pink, IRL. But Rodan is red. So Rodan is like the color that Fire Rodan normally is. And then none of the kaiju are their normal colors. So only one is the normal color of the kaiju. It could have been 2 if you made King Caesar yellow. But then I think that would actually be weirder if there were 2 that were their actual movie colors and 3 that aren't. I think that would actually be stranger. So having 1 that's the movie colors and 4 that aren't, and since that 1 is the Red Ranger, I guess it makes a bit more sense. Just a bit. Also, Anguirus, Mothra, and Rodan are obvious choices, because Rodan and Mothra are part of the Big 5, and then Anguirus is probably the 6th right behind that, first Godzilla foe, etc. And then Baragon and Caesar, they just picked like 2 more earthy, quote-unquote, good monsters. And Caesar, I actually think is kind of the perfect pick because he's, kind of very Power Ranger in a way. This is a kaiju that we've seen use more martial arts-like fighting techniques. So he actually makes a lot of sense as the power source for a Ranger, or for a TOKU hero in general. Now let's talk about their weapons. Wholly uncreative. Oh my god. They just have like the same weapons as the regular Mighty Morphin Rangers. They just look slightly different now. What? Pink Ranger still has a bow and arrow. Black Ranger still has axes. Red Ranger still has a sword. They just kind of look a little different now. And it's like, you had the opportunity here to make weapons that made so much more sense. What if the Blue Ranger had a big club that was a big spiky ball, like Anguirus's spiky carapace? Huh? What if Red Ranger had a big double-bladed axe, and each blade of the axe was a big Rodan wing? That would be cool. Wouldn't that be cool? It's just... It's like in the Power Ranger crossover with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first one of those. All of the turtle characters get Ranger powers. They get the Mighty Morphin powers. But the turtles, since they're turtles, they all get these cool kind of redesigns. And they all get these Dragon Shield-esque gold things on their shells. But then April is just a normal Mighty Morphin Pink Ranger with the normal Mighty Morphin Pink Ranger weapons. They didn't change her design to make her look like part of the Turtle Rangers. They just left her normal because it was lazy. They could, and I always said they should have given her like something that looks like a TV camera, but it like fires like a cannon, or maybe she has a big like rope with something kind of like a microphone, like the microphone she speaks into for her job at the end of it, and she slings it, and when she smacks people with the mic on the rope, it like makes a big screeching sound. Like just a tiny little bit of thought in these crossovers. This is just such basic lazy crossover fare. And that sucks because the first one was so fun. The story in this, it's predictable, and anytime they try to make it funny, it falls flat. The art is so bad. It's so bad. There's one point when Jet Jaguar and the White Ranger are storming Pandora's castle, where Jet Jaguar gives the thumbs up, I swear to God. On Kindle, it's location 73. Okay? Jet Jaguar gives a thumbs up. His arm is not even attached to his body. I swear to God, it's not attached to his body. It's insane. But they do fight Goldar, and Goldar actually looks freaky. I think they did a pretty good job drawing Goldar. I can't lie. He looks very intimidating and scary. And then the Green Ranger, of course, takes on his Kaiju Ranger look. And it looks great. Like, it's perfect. The main 5 Rangers, I don't know what they were doing with those. But the Green Godzilla Ranger looks really good. You can immediately look at him and tell it's the Mighty Morphin Green Ranger, but also you can clearly see that he's more Godzilla-y. He has a big Godzilla spine in the center of his chest instead of the big diamond. It's shaped like one of his back spikes. His head the helmet is more of a Godzilla head than the Dragon Zord head. You can look at him and be like, yeah, that's it. He has these tiny little spines on his back, which I could live without, to be honest. But he is pretty cool. He can fire an atomic blast from his mouth, and his gauntlets change shape from panel to panel because they didn't keep anything consistent in this book. Yeah, and I'm looking at new panels now where the Kaiju Rangers have like scaly details that they didn't have on other panels. It's like, what is happening here, man? What is happening? The art is so inconsistent. It's so inconsistent. But yeah, they should have all kind of followed the design template that they did for the Green Ranger. And I know the Green Ranger is the easy one because his Zord is already based on Godzilla. So it's kind of just a natural fusion. You just still have the Dragon Dagger unchanged, nothing new about it. And then the Godzilla Zord shows up, and it's fine. Once again, the Green Dragon Zord, the design is already based on Godzilla and Showa Mechagodzilla. So it already really looks like Godzilla. Now it just looks slightly more like Godzilla with some of Godzilla's back spines on its arms for some reason. Also, the King Caesar Zord. Now that I'm looking at it a bit more, it's weird. He looks like a bulldog. I know most Shishas are on all fours, but he isn't. So that's kind of another thing. The Megazord is a bit lazier. The individual Zords don't really bother me. The King Caesar one could be better, as I just said. But then they make the Megazord, and the Megazord design is basically the same as the Mighty Morphin Megazord. And the only reason King Caesar looks bad is because they refused to have a Megazord that deviated that much from the normal Mighty Morphin Megazord. They just did so much in this book, but at the same time barely tried and held back a lot. And I don't know how to explain that fully. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Megazord, the Kaiju Megazord. The regular Kaiju Zords, once again, fine. Black Ranger's Zord is a little odd, but mostly fine. Jet Jaguar rescues a bunch of Rangers from the multiverse. Gives them their powers back, all of which seemed to be in the form of coins, even though most Power Rangers don't get their power from coins, but for some reason every Ranger Rita stole them from were coined. But some of them shown are like Lightspeed Rescue and stuff, and they're not coin powered. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Multiverse, they could all be coin powered, I guess. I guess it could work that way. Anyhow, everyone gets sent back to their worlds or whatever, but the Rangers are able to keep the Kaiju coins. They're able to keep the Kaiju coins. So they just stay the Kaiju Rangers. And there is a sequel tease, a threequel, if you will. And yeah, I'll read it. There's like a Council of Ritas, which I guess is like the Council of Reeds, or when Kangs all get together. It's called the Alliance of Ritas. And some of them are pretty cool. There's like a really, really old Rita, and there's like a piggy Rita, and a baby Rita, it looks like. A hammerhead shark Rita, which I think is really cool. We only see her from the back, but you can tell she's a hammerhead shark Rita because her eyes are on the tips of her like big gray hair, which is actually part of her head. And then there's one that I think is just supposed to be fat Rita, and it's like, oh boy. Moth Rita, some kind of squid Rita, undead Rita, Cyclops or Triclops Rita. There's a lot of different Ritas. From the multiverse all teaming up and stuff. And they got plans for Godzilla. And that's it. That's it. Also, if you want to see what I mean by ugly and over-detailed suits, check out the variant cover art by Alex Sanchez and Patrico Del Pesci. And look how ugly those suits are in that image. Super ugly. So yeah, that is it, folks. That's it. Even Matt Frank couldn't make these suits look too great. They just don't look like they're part of a team. They look like a bunch of different heroes that all came together. Matt Frank tried to kind of make them look more uniform, but it didn't really work out. But he does make the Dragon Zord armor look good on Godzilla. Oh well. That's it, folks. Thank you all very much for your support. Please remember to rate, comment, subscribe. I'll try to review the first one and talk about how much I love it at some point. But I wanted to go ahead and get this one out first because I read it and I was like, Lord. Yikes. Sorry, Colin Vaughn. I know you love TOKU, but I'm sorry. So that is it. Thank you all very much for your support. I'll see y'all next time. Bye for now.